Durham says there was an outside company with ties to the Clinton camp monitoring server data info on the executive office of the president through the Obama administration, possibly into the Trump administration. Do you know if there's still a system picking up server data on the EOP, and if not, when it stopped?
Again, I know you asked my colleague a few questions about this the other day, but I would point you any questions about this to the Department of Justice.
And then is what was described in the filing there, monitoring internet traffic, is that, generally speaking, would that be considered something along the lines of spying?
Again, I would point you to the Department of Justice. Go ahead.
Mr. President, whether or not they are de-escalated. Ukraine as a precursor to a Russian invasion.
Are they behind the cyber attack, Mr. President?
I'm not going to ask you if the president's meeting today or soon with Supreme Court nominees.
What if I was prepared to answer it today? You're missing out.
Have there been any meetings?
I am not going to provide a day-by-day update, Ed. I just had to mess with you there a little bit.
But I am curious. This is a president who's been a participant.
I think the only other angle left on the interviews that you have not been asked is, will you tell us when the interviews are complete?
Unlikely. I will tell you, the president will tell you when there's a nominee. The good news is March 1st is around the corner. So, we remain on track and you don't have too much longer.
I think I've thought of one more way.
Okay, go ahead.
Which is only to say that when the president said the other day that he was considering about 4 nominees, did he mean 3? Did about 4 mean 3?
The president meant about 4, and I don't have anything further to add to that. Go ahead.
Last night, voters in San Francisco voted to recall 3 school board members. I'm wondering if the White House has any reaction to that result.
Sure, we of course did see that. We don't have any reaction directly to the decision by the local school board, but I would just reiterate that the president's objective has been keeping schools open from the beginning. We don't have any specific comment on the local decision about the local school board leaders, but
the issues that we've seen play about equity, about curriculum play in some of these electoral races.
Well, tell me more about specifically.
In San Francisco, specifically, there was controversy over the renaming of schools. There in Virginia, conversations about critical race theory. I'm wondering whether the White House or the president thinks that some of these school boards, maybe in San Francisco and other places, have moved too far to the left, adopted liberal policies beyond what voters seemingly approve of, or just more generally how the president thinks of education and some of these issues around equity and inclusion.
Well, I would say first that the president is married to a teacher, so he certainly trusts in the role of teachers and educators across the country and the kind of curriculum that they are providing. I'm not going to have any specific comment on any local school board or the politics of school boards as it relates to any political race either, though.
Club for Growth is now running ads in English and in Spanish targeting Latino audiences and suggesting that the president's focus on nominating a black woman to the court versus qualified Latino judges, and they list a few in their ad, is racist. What do you make of that?
Well, the Supreme Court has been around for 230 years. There's never been a black woman who served on the Supreme Court. The president believes that's a problem with past processes.
Nominations in the Banking Committee. Chairman Brown said today that he's refusing to move the other picks separate from Sarah Bloom Raskin. He also said that he spoke to President Biden and that President Biden is standing by Senate Democrats on this. So is the White House backing that strategy of holding all the nominees up and essentially waiting for Republicans to show up at the Banking Committee to vote?
Absolutely, and I was in the Oval Office when the president spoke with Senator Brown, so I can confirm, not that there was any doubt, that he conveyed exactly that to the senator, that he agrees that Republicans are AWOL on the fight against inflation, and at this pivotal moment in our needs. We support Chairman Brown's decision to keep all 5 on the Fed board, pushing them forward through the committee, and we believe Republicans need to do their jobs and show up to vote for these nominees.
You've spoken about the urgency with inflation and other issues facing the Fed, but given that Republicans have shown no signs of bending and that the Senate is poised to go on recess by the end of the week, I mean, how likely or unlikely is it that we're going to see a vote before the end of the month on these nominees?
Well, I would point you to Chairman Brown for that. He is very committed, and I'm sure, and I think as you've seen him publicly, can be quite a bulldog when he wants to get something done. So we support his efforts to get these 5 nominees forward. There's a couple days left, and all we're asking is for Republicans.
Was basically able to perform at full strength even without the confirmed nominees. Your reaction to that?
I think there's no question that having a full federal board fighting inflation at a time where that is the stated #1 concern of many Republicans, many Democrats, and many in the American public would be the ideal situation.
And oil prices are nearing $100 a barrel. It's a milestone that hasn't been reached since 2014. What steps is the administration taking at this point to deal with high oil prices?
As I've said, and I said yesterday, for the president, all options remain on the table. As you know, in the past or recent months, he tapped the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, 50 million barrels.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez discussed this earlier this week, and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has also talked about the importance of canceling student loan debt. Why is this not an issue that, with broad public support and support within its own party in Congress, has the president not worked or pushed harder on to cancel?
Well, the president has conveyed he'd be happy to sign a bill into law that all of those members could work to get passed.
Yesterday marks the 30th House Democrat to announce their retirement from Congress. Is the White House at all concerned that this is indicative of a political climate in the broader country, in his own party? And could simply the retirements of very senior Democrats on the Hill potentially have implications for the White House's domestic agenda?
Well, as you know, I have to be a little careful. I've learned my lesson the hard way about talking about politics from up here. There are a range of retirements every cycle for a variety of reasons.
This date had been circled on the calendar as one that this administration, that other governments worldwide were watching very closely. What do you make of the fact that at this point, it is now darkness in that region, there hasn't been a military invasion?
What we had conveyed last week, and you heard Jake Sullivan convey very clearly, is that we were in the window. We remain in the window.